He's the voice of a more conscious school of hip-hop. Common has been stacking up hits since the early days of gangster rap with a positive message that pushes a compassionate approach. Collaborating with Kanye West, John Legend and De La Soul in the past, his latest record is a soul jazz-influenced love letter to life. Common, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're here with a new album, Let Love Have the Last Word, in keeping with the same name of your memoir that you published this year. But I'm wondering if this might get your fans a bit worried. I hope it's not the last word from you, musically.
Oh, no. I mean, I feel like this is a new beginning. You know, in life, you go through different phases. And in this point, I'm just really enthused about creating music and what music can put out in the world. Along with, you know, I was grateful to have the book too. That was another aspect of me, but music has been my first love, and it's the thing that I first learned to express myself in art through. So I always love it, but now it's like, wow, I feel like a new energy about it.
And the record tackles a lot of personal material, your past, your family, relationships. Was any of that painful to put out there?
It was really liberating to put out there. It was therapeutic. It was, I feel like, a lot more free as a person. Being a person that's vulnerable and open to themselves, the more I became that, the more I wanted to express it. And you know, my first interview, when I first put out the book, it kind of hopped right into like, okay, so you were molested. And at that point, I understood that this was going to be something I needed to talk about. But I also realized how helpful it would be. Like the phone calls I got, the people who have greeted me at book signings or performances that say, man, thank you for saying that. You know, I experienced the same thing, or my friend has experienced something like that, and they felt like they could talk about it more. So as scary as it may have felt doing it initially, like, when I decided to do it and I made that breakthrough, it feels even that much more courageous and confident, and I feel like it has a higher purpose.
I love you, so just be who you are. You gave me a voice in the world. It's been hard to choose another girl. They trip when you mumble, they trip when you sing, but you gave us a chance to dream. In Young Thugs, you see a future. You recognize Little Uzi ain't here to shoot ya. At 21, you knew I was savage, but you said, Common, you will never be average.
Now, you've collaborated with some quite high-profile artists on this record, Swizz Beatz, Jill Scott, and you've always worked with big talents in the past, from Lauryn Hill to Q-Tip to De La Soul. Of the up-and-coming generation, who were you most excited to work with?
On this album, I've worked with Daniel Caesar, who I was very excited to work with. I love his music.
Who knew that we would take it this far? I love you, so just be who you are.
People that I haven't worked with of the new generation I would love to work with is Kendrick Lamar. I love what he does as an artist. I like Ari Lennox. She's really talented. Chance, you know, fellow Chicagoan, and he's just a very talented artist too, like somebody I would love to work with.
She said, Dad, let your actions be your loudest speaker. And now my daughter is now my teacher, with love. Show me that you're there. Show me that you care. I've been looking for you, but you don't want to share.
Now, musical success happened for you when you were really young, and that was a time when gangster rap was kind of glorifying crime, life on the margins, but in one of your biggest hits, you rap about trying to stay legal. Do you think rap's taken a different direction? It's become more wholesome, maybe?
I think it's just continuing to be more honest. And it started with a true depiction of just the culture, like inner city kids. And then when suburban kids got in, it's great when a suburban kid, Eminem came in and was being himself. It's great now that you have like artists, like I said, Chance, who will rap about God or rap about being married now. That's honest rap. And then you still have YG, who It will be like, yo, this is what it's like in the hood in LA. This is what it is. I think all that has a certain honesty to it.
I'm here to investigate the death of somebody very close to me.
We can't have this detective find out that an FBI informant was present during the murder of one of his own.
You want to pitch your field office against the biggest police department in the world? You love us a good fight.
And as well as music, you've worked extensively in cinema, acting in dozens of films, everything from action movies like The Informer to more independent features like The Hate U Give. What is it about cinema that gives you something creatively that music doesn't?
Well, cinema allows me to explore other people's lives in different ways. It's almost like you walking in their shoes. I love acting. It's one of my favorite things to do ever in life, and it's one of the gifts that I thank God that I want to develop and really work to be one of the greats.
And as well as acting in Ava DuVernay's film Selma in 2014, you also did the song Glory with John Legend for that film, and it won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, a Grammy. Why do you think that song and its message touched people so much?
I think it's God's music. I think that's music that's beyond just the artist, and it touches people in places that only divine music can, and it crosses color barriers, and it was written from a place of like love. It was written from a place like, man, we want to express something that is the voice of people who are unheard, the voice of people who are marginalized, the voice of people who have been oppressed.
And as well as Selma, you worked with Ava DuVernay on the 13th, the documentary, which talks about the link between incarceration and race in the United States. And that's a subject quite close to your heart because you've done outreach in prisons in the US. And as well as these philanthropic efforts, what do you think society really needs to do to tackle that issue?
I think it's important that we let society know these are human beings. Many come from places where they've been abused and hurt, and it's been the seed of why they become people of crime and violent. What we can do is like not only focus on the mistakes or the crimes and the act, but also focus on the healing of that and how to rehabilitate and get people to a better place if they have done wrong. I'm part of an organization called Imagine Justice, but we've worked with a group called ARC, Anti-Recidivism Coalition. John Legend is doing things when it comes to criminal justice reform. It's people on the ground, they have no celebrity status at all, who've been doing this work for years.
And you grew up on the south side of Chicago, and another very famous resident of that area, celebrated one, is Michelle Obama.
Yes.
I heard that she invited you to the White House for a poetry event. What was that like?
That was like a dream. Like to be able to go to the White House and see the first Black president and First Lady Michelle Obama, and to be invited to do poetry, something I love to do. And to have that South Side connection that was just a little sidebar, like, we South Side, it's South Side. She's really cool, he's really cool. They just like great people. I didn't think that this would happen while I'm living, So to be there was like, all I could do is thank God and thank the President and First Lady Michelle Obama and just be like, South Side, what's up?
Vast is the task that grasp the mass, cast over the master, dash for cast at last pass. Slow down, we can hold down for the profound thoughts that go round. The world is your town.
And staying with like political or social issues, that you performed at the March for Our Lives rally against gun violence in Washington. It feels like that issue is getting a bit more traction now. Do you think America's ready to change on gun control?
I think a lot of Americans want change when it comes to gun control. It's still some Americans who, for their own agenda, just feel like, nah, we don't, it's not a gun thing, it's a mental health thing. Well, it could be both. Mental health and mental wellness is definitely an issue we're dealing with in America, but the fact that so many people have access to guns has been a problem. It's showing itself every month, every few months, and it's heavy, it's hurtful, it's painful. There's people who lost their family members and communities that lost friends and loved ones. I'm from a city where gun violence is one of the situations that has caused us a lot of pain and hurt. Taking the guns away would only benefit our country on a social level, on an emotional level, on the way we relate. It just would benefit us.
And the US is looking towards an election next year. They'll be re-electing or not electing the president in 2020. What are your hopes for the direction the country's going to take?
The last part of your question was the best thing we said today, is the president getting not re-elected. President Trump not being re-elected would be a benefit to the country, a benefit to the world. I mean, I think it would show an example that we want to go in the right direction. So many people in America are embarrassed, are hurt, like feel like they're in a bad dream. It's our responsibility as people in America, voting people, to encourage other people to go out and vote. We gotta have somebody in that at least is a respectable, honorable, caring individual, woman or man, in that position. We need that in the world. The world needs to see that and feel that.
Thank you very much, Common, for your time today.
I appreciate it, Olivia. Thank you.
Slow down, we can hold down for the profound thoughts that go round. The world is your town, it's my town. It's the new wave, we on high ground. Come on. Hey.
What you just heard was exclusive. Common.